Hello, I'm Maurice Powell. Welcome to A Little Like Music, Manx Radio's regular Thursday evening classical music hour. I'm going to begin this evening's concert with an overture by Aubert, the French composer of operas and operettas and opera comiques in the first part of the 19th century. He wrote an enormous number of works, probably 50 or more dramatic works of all different sorts, and ballets as well. So he was a highly productive chap. I'm going to play the overture to one of his most successful dramatic works, Le Domino Noir, premiered in 1837. It's an opera comique. That doesn't mean a comic opera. It's far from it, in fact. An opera comique is an opera with spoken dialogue, so a little bit like Fidelio or the Magic Flute. The German equivalent will be a Singspiel. So an opera comique with spoken dialogue. As I say, it was one of his most successful works and had something over 1,200 performances by 1909. Wow. The story, which I won't go into any great detail, it concerns a novice nun enjoying her last days of freedom. Well, how do we think that worked out? The overture to Le Domino Noir by Aubert. A fairly bright and breezy overture to what is actually a quite serious opera, Auber's Le Domino Noir. These 19th century overtures were once enormously popular. Many of them became arranged for brass band and featured in brass band contests, and you could always guarantee an overture by Herold or Aubert or so forth at almost any brass band concert. These overtures were very popular and remained popular, particularly here on the Isle of Man, right up to the Second World War, when they featured very often in the famous Sunday concerts at the Villa Marina, at the Palace, of course, at the Palace Coliseum and the Derby Castle Opera House, many of them conducted, of course, by Harry Wood, the overall musical director of the Palace and Derby Castle Company. And I have in my possession his personal list of all the compositions played at these concerts, or most of them, between the 1880s and 1938, and also details of all the famous artists that performed here. At the moment I'm busy annotating it, editing it and updating it, just for so it can be available online to anybody that's interested. But these kind of 19th century overtures, which we perhaps now think of as sort of rather irritating pot boilers, were immensely popular. I always get something out of them. They're normally beautifully orchestrated, if a little bit predictable, but hey. Now, to the music of John Rutter, and I'm going to play probably one of his most famous pieces. It's the Pie Jesu from his Requiem, composed in 1985. It's a wonderful soprano solo with chorus and chamber orchestra. It was in memoriam to his father. It was first performed at the Lovers Lane United Methodist Church in Dallas, Texas, of all places. I didn't know that. John Rutter, the Pie Jesu from his Requiem. The gorgeous Pie Jesu from John Rutter's Requiem. The soprano soloist there was Caroline Ashton, and it comes from a recording made in 1986, which is just a year after the work was first premiered in America, as I said earlier. We'll be returning to the music of John Rutter later in the programme in a much lighter vein. In the meantime, a composer who I don't think has appeared in this series ever. If he did, it was a long, long time ago that I've actually forgotten. The composer is the Irish composer and pianist John Field. He was a contemporary of Haydn, Beethoven, Schubert, Mendelssohn, what we might call an early romantic, a contemporary really, of say composers like Weber and Louis Spohr, the great German contemporary of Beethoven. In fact, Spohr knew John Field quite well, and they had a very strange meeting, which I'll tell you about shortly. I'm going to play a movement from his first piano concerto. John Field is remembered today mainly for his nocturnes for solo piano, which kind of are kind of like a preview to the more famous nocturnes of Chopin, and they're absolutely gorgeous. We don't hear them enough. But he wrote a number of piano concertos, and I'm going to play a movement from the first one. He was born in Dublin in 1782, the son of a theatre violinist. He made his debut as a soloist just at the age of 10. And in 1793, the family moved to Bath, where they undoubtedly came into contact with the impresario Rauzzini. Now, Rauzzini, years earlier, had been a famous castrato whom Mozart met in Italy and wrote the famous Exsultate Jubilati for him. But Rauzzini retired to Bath, became a very prominent, as I say, entrepreneur in music making there, at the sort of Jane Austen time, if you like. Field then moved to London, where he met Clementi and Haydn, who heard him play and wrote that he played extremely well. He spent time in Paris, Russia, Vienna, and Russia again, where he died in 1837. The first piano concerto was premiered in London in 1799. Now, sometime in the early 19th century, Spohr was on a concert tour and went to St. Petersburg, and one day he was just taking a walk along by the river, and he noticed a figure there beating his shirts with a great big stone in the river in order to wash them, and it turned out to be John Field, and they had quite a chat. So a very extraordinary meeting. An attractive sort of composer, I think, John Field, sort of guy you wouldn't mind having a pint of Guinness with, in a nice hotel in Bath, maybe. Who knows? Anyway, this is the second movement of his Piano Concerto No. 1. It's based on the Scottish air Within a Mile of Edinburgh Town. The slow movement from the Pelican Concerto No. 1 by John Field. The pianist there was Benjamin Frith. We might return to Field's music in a later programme. I think I have a disc of some of his nocturnes lying around somewhere in the collection. I'll have to look it out. Now, a piece of nostalgia featuring the voice of Gladys Ripley, one of the best-known contraltos of sort of the pre-Second World War and just after the Second World War years. Gladys Ripley came here to the Villa Marina on several occasions. There was a very popular artist for the Sunday concerts. I'm going to play a recording she made in 1947 of O Peaceful England from Edward German's Merry England, a work that was actually written in 1902 but remained popular after the Second World War. I can remember giving 2 or 3 amateur performances of it, playing in the orchestra, and that will be in the early 60s. Not heard very much now, but has some fine hit numbers, as you might say. So Gladys Ripley singing O Peaceful England from Edward German's Merry England. The magnificent voice of the contralto Gladys Ripley, recorded in 1947. That's a very imperious voice, steady as a rock. I can imagine that filling the Royal Hall at the Villa Marina, and of course with absolutely perfect diction. Gladys Ripley. And now an announcement, a heads up. So hope you've got your diaries at the ready. This is the annual concert of the Isle of Man Choral Society, together with the Isle of Man Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Mandy Griffin. And this magnificent concert takes place in the Royal Hall at the Villa Marina on Sunday, the 6th of April at 3 p.m. So that's Sunday, the 6th of April, Royal Hall of Villa Marina, 3 p.m. The annual concert of the Isle of Man Choral Society, together with the Isle of Man Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Mandy Griffin. The programme includes Fauré's gorgeous Requiem, Poulenc's magnificent Gloria, wonderful, wonderful, entertaining piece, and 4 or 5 extracts from Bizet's Carmen. It's going to be a terrific concert. You can obviously ring the Villa Gaiety box office for tickets. Adults are £15, students and under 16s £3. So, Isle of Man Choral Society with the Isle of Man Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Mandy Griffin, Sunday 6th of April, Royal Hall at the Villa Marina, 3 p.m. in the afternoon. A wonderful concert of French sacred and operatic music. So, and now to the music of Haydn Wood. I mean, he crops up quite often in this series, not too often, I hope, and hopefully I don't repeat pieces too often. But of course, he is a kind of our adopted composer. Although he was born in Yorkshire, he spent his childhood here, and his brother Harry, of course, and other members of the family spent 50 years here, from the 1880s till just before the Second World War, and made an enormous contribution to Manx musical culture, as did Haydn Wood himself, by writing those wonderful orchestral pieces based on Manx national tunes. This is a slightly different piece. This was recorded in 1946. It's possible Haydn Wood is conducting, although the recording doesn't actually make that very clear. This is his Stamford Rhapsody, one of many rhapsodies he wrote, but this is based on the music of the composer Stanford, Charles Villiers Stanford, who had been Haydn Wood's composition pupil at the Royal College of Music in the decades before the First World War. It's based on Stanford's Songs of the Sea, so you'll hear reminiscences of Drake's Drum, Homeward Bound, Devon, oh Devon in Wind and Rain, and the Old Superb. Haydn Wood, Stanford Rhapsody. The music of Haydn Wood, based on Charles Villiers Stanford's Songs of the Sea. We heard extracts there from Drake's Drum, Homeward Bound, Devon O Devon, and the old Superb. Well, you could sort of almost taste the salt air, couldn't you, blowing out of the pages of that particular score. As I say, Stanford was Haydn Wood's composition pupil at the Royal College of Music back in the day, as they say. So it's a kind of a homage, really, to some of one of Stanford's best-known works. So, back now, I think. No, we're not going back to John Rutter just yet. I'm just going to sneak in a short piece by Robert Farnham, who we haven't heard from for a week or two now. This is, I'd say, a very short, characteristic piece of British light music. It's called Taj Mahal. Robert Farnham's impressions of the Taj Mahal. And now we're going to return briefly to the music of John Rutter for two charming pieces from his 5 childhood lyrics. These are based on children's nursery rhymes, and they were written for unaccompanied choir in 1973. So I'm going to play Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, followed by Sing a Song of Sixpence. We return to the music of John Rutter. Two whimsical songs there by John Rutter, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, and Sing a Song a Sixpence from his 5 childhood lyrics. That brings us to the end of the programme. We've just got time for one more piece. I hope you've enjoyed my selection. Please join me next Thursday at 9. There will be a little bit of Haydn and some Dvorak, not sure what else. So to play us out with, here is the last movement of the piano concerto I played an extract of near the beginning of the programme, the one by John Field. Here is the finale, and a rather jolly piece it is too. Goodbye.